Hello, this is Mr. Rio, and welcome to Computer Literacy. This is the online-only class, otherwise referred to as a virtual class. So we'll be covering the same material as the hybrid class, except we'll be doing it entirely online. So we'll be using Google Classroom, which I'll talk more about later, as our main platform. And right now I'm just going to give a little introduction to the course and what you can expect. First of all, some of the topics covered in computer literacy. A little background. Computer literacy was created a long time ago, and it's basically the class that covers the basic skills we want every high school student to have, especially if they're going to be college bound in the future. And it started in the 90s when we first had computer labs in schools and covered Microsoft Office, like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and then the internet came out, and over the years we've changed it and updated it, and we still cover Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. We'll be covering the Google tools also, like Docs and Slides and that to some extent. We'll cover a lot about the internet, about tech terms, digital media, do some video, some Photoshop, or other photo editing, if not Photoshop, because it's online. We'll talk about background of the internet, using the internet, careers in technology, a lot of topics in the news about career and technology, about computers and technology, and make you aware. So if you consider a career in any of these fields, or at least aware of the ones that exist, and of course a lot of the tools and skills that we feel you should have as a high school student. And so I try to keep this class very relevant. I'm always updating it, always getting new information. We'll be watching videos. We'll be reading things. You'll be writing little papers or answering questions. Most of your points for your grading will be from projects, but we will have some tests too. And we'll meet online, and it's we're going to make this the best class we can online. If you were at our school, we have a Mac lab that I teach in, and we use the Apple Catalina version. That's the current version of the Mac operating system software. Now, many of you are wherever, at home. You may be using the school-issued computers, which use Windows. There will be a little difference because I use mostly Macs, but the differences are quite minor. So occasionally I'll make reference to some of that, or I may show something on a Mac and it might look a tiny bit different on a Windows computer. Not a big deal. When it comes to some of the projects, I'll give you some options of what software to use. For example, if we do some video editing, some of you may have, obviously you may not have a Macintosh, so you may want to use Movie Maker for Microsoft or some other software you might have access to, and we'll talk about that. And then if you do have a Mac, which some of you may have a Mac, you can use iMovie or whatever else you have to do some of those projects. If you were in class, you couldn't use cell phones and that, but you're not in there, so I'm not going to go into that, or lab rules so much. The main rules here for our online class is to always be polite and respectful to everybody, to each other, to myself, and I will do that also. And to do your best. That's really important. And to be honest. So if you make a mistake or some problem or whatever, just be honest about it, and we'll try to resolve it. Stay caught up, or preferably ahead of schedule in case something comes up. And don't cheat. So there are ways we can check for cheating. So if you cheat, really you're ultimately cheating yourself, because you should be doing your best and learning. And if you try to cut corners, then you just basically cheat yourself. Attendance. Attendance is going to be interesting. I'll have more information coming up because I keep changing this first week. But I do have to do attendance. I do have to do check-ins with you, and maybe through email. It may be through online meetings like through Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams. So I will be discussing that. If and when someday in the future you're back in the building, and if you have any interest in, I also do HCTV and video, and we do music recording, in the broadcast studio. If that ever interests you, you can contact me and we could talk about maybe getting you involved. So that's a little side note there. A little background on me. I first went into business, believe it or not. I went to Michigan State, got a degree in business marketing and economics, and I got hired in sales at the Chicago Tribune, which is a big newspaper, the biggest newspaper in Chicago. This was back in the 80s, long before you guys were born. And I sold advertising for 3 years and learned a lot about auto dealers because I dealt with auto dealers, and I learned a lot about restaurants and theaters. Then after 3 years of sitting in traffic and getting yelled at for things I didn't do every day, I decided I didn't want to do that the rest of my life, and I took some time off and did some traveling in Europe and visited 28 countries, and then came back to Michigan and went back to school at Western and got a second degree to be a social studies and English teacher. So I started my career as a social studies and English teacher. I'm highly qualified to teach all social studies and English. In the 90s, I taught at Bellevue, and I started getting into technology and teaching their computer class and doing yearbook and various other things with web and video and so forth. And I ended up starting a program. I got a master's degree in educational technology from Western Michigan University, where I also taught in that program for a while being a high school teacher. In 2000, 20 years ago, I got hired to come to Harper Creek to start the multimedia program. So we started the first multimedia lab in 2001. I started HCTV in 2002. They passed a bond for a new high school around then, so by 2004 we're in a new high school with a much better multimedia lab and broadcast studio. And I've really enjoyed being at Harper Creek ever since, so I'm really excited about the things that I teach. I also, like I said, I can teach social studies, English, or basically any of the technology or computer classes. So I'll be sharing a lot of things I know and have learned over the years. At this point, there's on Google Classroom, which I'll show in a moment, there's one assignment where you're going to basically answer questions about yourself, and you're going to use Google Docs, and you're going to submit it in the Google Classroom. It's officially due Friday, but if you want to knock it out today, it'd be easy. Today being Wednesday, this video is meant to be, hopefully you log in and watch this on Wednesday, our first day, September 2nd. But I'll talk about that more when I get to the Google Classroom and show you a little bit about that. The codes for Google Classroom, which if you're watching this, you've already got in, were shared publicly. Some people emailed me and I sent it out. And then once you're in, then you're all set there for your Google Classroom. And of course, you got to use your school login and sign in. So I'll come back to this assignment here in just a moment. I'm going to skip this slide because obviously you're not coming to class. If you ever were in school or in class, obviously we got rules and stuff. But that won't really apply as far as online. Will have, obviously, I expect you to follow guidelines and be polite and all that. Grading is all about points. I give points for just about everything, including I might give some participation points for doing assignments, for doing things I ask you to do. Most of the points this semester will be for assignments, projects or things that we do. There will be points for some tests that we do, but most of the points are not tests. Most of the points are projects and assignments. Always do your best. I hope we have a great school year. And now I'm going to switch on over to the Google Classroom for our class. So I'm basically clicking out of here. And I'm going to quit out here. I got this in PowerPoint. And I'm going to open up Google. Now you can use any browser you want. I'm using Google Chrome at the moment, the Mac version. You can use Firefox, you can use Safari, you can use Microsoft Edge. But Chrome is, since we use a lot of Google things like Google Docs and Google Classroom and so forth, Chrome is also made by Google. So generally speaking, if there's a Google app that we're using, it's going to work as good or better in Chrome than it will in other browsers. Now, right now I got Chrome open. Now, if you look over here, I'm already logged in. That's my school login. I'm already logged in. So if you're already logged in, then great. You're ready to get going. If not, you have to log in here, your school login. Now, I call this the waffle. It's not original to me. I've been in training sessions where they call this the waffle right here. If you click that, you'll see a bunch of your Google apps. and that'll be your docs and your drive and your slides and Gmail. By the way, our school email is not Gmail, it's Outlook, so don't try to use Gmail with it. You have to use Outlook. Photos, a lot of these we'll talk about sites. We'll be making a website and sites. But Classroom right now we're going to go to. Now you can also go to classroom.google.com. And if you want to bookmark that, whatever is easiest for you to get to, then they'll bring up all your Google Classrooms. I'm going to open up this one, which is our class here online right now. And let me explain a little bit how this works in case you're not familiar with Google Classroom that much, or if you're not familiar with the way I set up Google Classroom. If you take when you first open it, you're probably going to be in the stream right here. The stream is basically various announcements and general information. It's not your assignments for the most part. So at the bottom, I got a general welcome and my email address here. Then a little above that, I do a reminder that this class starts on Wednesday, September 2nd, in case anyone logs in early. I put assignments will be under classwork above, which we'll get to in a moment. The school web page, I put a link there, and this is really good to go to and check out. I'd like you to go here, at least look around, see what's here. Now you notice this doesn't take you to the front page of the Harper Creek Community Schools site. That's just simply harpercreek.net. This takes you specifically to the high school page. And when you get to here, there's a lot of information, including the schedule we're using at school this year, calendar, and if you scroll down, there's all kinds of information here. Okay? So there's some good stuff here. Check it out. That's for the high school page. I closed that out, so I'm back here in Google Classroom. Now the next one up is the school handbook. Now even though you're online, the handbook does still apply to you as a Harper Creek student. If you click that link, it'll take you to a link. The handbook this year is online. They're not giving out physical handbooks. You don't have to sign it and turn it in. But do check it out. There's a lot of important information here. You can share it with your parents or guardians too. And especially when you do come back to regular school, it's important to know the rules in that. But even for online, it applies. Word applies. Here I got some, I have had several questions about meeting. We're not meeting online this week as far as like having a Zoom meeting or a Meet. Meet is like Zoom, but for Google Meet. There's another one called Microsoft Teams. And because this is a computer lit class and we're teaching you how to use tools, we'll probably use all three of them this semester. I'm not sure how much yet, but we'll be meeting starting next week. I'll have information and links and stuff, and we'll start meeting online. We'll have fixed times that you're expected to meet online. I understand there's a possibility, just like with a normal school day, that whatever time I set, there could be someone who has some major conflict. So we'll just be in touch about that. You can always email me, and we can discuss some accommodation if there's some problem. I also may put some info up there trying to get a feel for, if people do have any conflicts, because I'd prefer to have online meeting when everybody can be at there. Okay? And the meetings wouldn't be long. It'd be cover information, answer questions, and on occasion I might teach some lessons that way too. A lot of the lessons will be video. I'll be pre-record like I'm doing right now. And the reason for that's simple. It's that, number one, everyone needs it to different degrees. One person can just watch it once and skim through it and get it. Other people might need to watch it a second time or look up part of it again. So I think that'll be probably better for most lessons. And, we'll discuss more of this in the future. So that's just the stream. This is where you get your general announcements. Now, I purposely set up my Google Classroom, unlike maybe some other teachers, so the regular classwork assignments don't come up in the stream, because I don't want the stream to get too crowded. So you have to click up here for classwork. And for the most part, as of right now, my plan is simply to organize it by week. This is a very short week. We're starting on Wednesday. We have a 4-day holiday weekend coming up, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I didn't put a whole lot here. Pretty much our goal this week is to get you logged in, have you look over this general information, check out, there's a syllabus here, student handbook. We have a welcome back staff video you can click and watch. And then the assignment we're going to do here in a moment, or I'm going to introduce in a moment. And then I got some information about Office 365 I'll also talk about. The syllabus here, you can go ahead and click that. You can open it, download. You don't need to download, you can just open it here. I'm not going to sit here and read this for you. You're fully capable of reading it, but it's got general information about what the class is like, what's going to cover, some background, general course schedule about units. But like I said, I'm going to put up the assignments by week. Now I'll be keeping track of units too. Some units we wrap up and it's just a bunch of projects. Other units, when we wrap them up, we'll have a test. Like we'll probably have a word processing test. Now that test may be a project, but it'll be a project where you have a fixed amount of time to do it. You know, it might be it comes available and, you know, in the morning and you have to have it done by, you know, a couple hours later or something. But we'll discuss that. So it's got kind of an overview of what we're going to be doing, some materials. This here is this same syllabus I use at my in-person classes. So some of the things that apply to being in my Mac lab will obviously make adjustments for whatever you're using at home. So there may be some modifications for that. And it's got some of my information here, phone number, email, and so forth. So you can check that out. I'm going to click out of there. I already talked about Student Handbook. Welcome back video. Check that out. It's fun. It's staff talking about, you know, missing you guys, wanting to see you guys. Even if you're not in the building, I recommend watching that. Occasionally, I'll post something where I'll ask you to put a comment down below and say, oh, just put down, I got it, saw it. Now, sometimes that's in the stream. So make sure you read any directions around there. If there's anything that says comment below or say you read it or you got it or you saw it or something like that, make sure you do that. It's kind of a test sometime to see if you're reading the directions. Also, if it is a comment, sometimes it gives you a little flexibility. So if it says got it and you put read it or something, that's fine. And so make sure you do those things. Now this is our main assignment. And today, Wednesday, be a great time to do it and be done with it. Looks like a couple of people already did it. So this is quite simple. You open up a Google Doc. Now here's what I would do. I would organize your page here in a window. And then I would open a new window. So go to File menu, go a new window. Now the reason I didn't do a new tab is because I want to be able to move this around. I don't want to just click between tabs. Now that's a preference. You may have a little different way of doing it. It works good. That's fine. Now I'm going to click the waffle here, and I'm going to click on Docs. That's what we do word processing in. And I'm going to click on a blank one, and it's going to bring up a blank untitled document. Now for this assignment here, first of all, don't leave untitled up here. Now, I always say put in a meaningful name. So I'm going to pretend I'm a student, and I will put Michael Rio Intro. It's my name. It's intro. It's for the class. Or I could put Michael Rio Complet 1 or something like that so I know exactly what it is and what I'm going to want to go to look for to submit it. Then click down here, and many of you may know from Google Docs, because I assume most of you have used it before. You don't have to hit save. It's got default font and size and that. I'm not going to go over how to use Google Doc right now. If you really are stuck on Google Doc, you can go on YouTube and that, look around. I'm sure there's some excellent intro videos. But by now, most if not all of you should have used Google Docs at least once before. Then what you do is you number this. Put a number. You don't have to do the question. The first number, by the way, it's just your name. Okay? Now, if you want to put your name and start numbering it too, just have your name at the top. I'm not real picky if you put a 1 before your name, but for sake of simplicity here, I'll just go ahead and do that. Now I'll hit number 2 and click here to see what the question is. What computer device will you use for this class? So you probably got your school-issued computer. Maybe you're using another one. Maybe you're using both. Maybe you're on an iPad, you know. Probably hard to do this class on a phone, but some type of computer, or probably at the smallest, maybe an iPad. So anything you can put there. You can put your school-issued Windows computer. By the way, school computers are not Chromebooks unless for some weird reason they gave you a Chromebook because they ran out of other ones. Maybe at home you have a computer. Maybe you got a Dell. Maybe you got a Mac. Maybe you got an HP. If you can share anything about what you're using, I'd be curious. Okay? Again, you don't have to put the question there. Just put the answer. Now, if the answer is something you put in complete sentences, great. If it's something that you can just make a list, if they'll answer it, I'm not real picky on that. Just kind of use common sense, and you can go ahead and do that. Question 3, what online tools have you used? Now, in reality, most of you probably used a lot of online tools. You don't have to make a list of 20, but if you can put down like maybe 4 or 5 of the ones that really stick out. You probably have used Google Classroom. Maybe you've been on Zoom. Maybe you've been on Google Meet or Google Docs, or right now you're using Google Docs. Maybe you used Microsoft Teams before, or Microsoft Office 365, or there may be some other things. Now, online means when you use it, you're on the internet. In other words, it's something you can do in a web browser in most cases. Now, some of these have both options. You can do it in a web browser, or you can do it some other ways, but I'm mainly thinking of that kind of stuff. Number 4, what have been your biggest challenges the last 6 months? What did you accomplish? Any goals or anything like that? Again, you can just put down some things that were bothered you or was tough or you didn't like or whatever, and then put down hopefully you accomplished some things. It might be fun things. It might be serious things. Maybe you're working on some things right now. I'll share a little bit of mine right now. My biggest challenges the last 6 months was just simply being really safe. And the biggest reason is I help take care of some elderly parents. So I didn't want to get it, more so that I don't give it to them. So I kept myself quite very isolated, so it was rather boring, and I couldn't do many things I like to do, like movie theaters and concerts and going to the gym and, of course, being at the high school for the most part. I do some things, obviously. I go out to grocery stores and go for walks and bike rides and so forth. So I get out a little bit and did some things, and I'm doing more now than I did back in like April or May. But that was a big challenge. And, of course, I miss school and everything, too, being in person. What did I accomplish? I worked on a lot of tech skills, try to learn new things, got a lot of cleaning and organizing done at home, scanned a lot of old pictures and things I've been meaning to do for a long time. And after our first month being home of maybe eating a little bit too much, I decided I didn't want to gain any weight and I wanted to lose weight and get healthier. So I took up healthy eating and walking a lot, like 5 miles a day, and riding my bike, and I lost 20 pounds. So that was a good accomplishment. I'd like to keep that going. Number 5, what are some of your hobbies and interests? Now, that could be anything. Maybe you like to, like in my case, I like to play golf and tennis, but I don't watch golf and tennis, but I watch football and basketball. So sports can be things that you like to watch or things that you like to do or both. Maybe you do music. I play guitar and some other bass and stuff, trying to learn piano. Maybe you're into video games, maybe you're into social media, maybe you race horses, maybe you camp, maybe you fish or hunt. Whatever it may be, I'd be curious to know some of the things you do. They could be school things, non-school things, just school appropriate, okay? Number 6, what's some of your favorite classes, subject areas? It could be real specific, like I'm in honors choir and really like it. It could be something more general, like I like math, or I like science, or I like physics, or I like Spanish, or I like automotive, repair or whatever. Number 7, what kind of internet access do you have outside of school? That's something I'm curious about. I understand some people don't have it, so you might have to go somewhere else to do your internet. Maybe a friend or family member, maybe even to a business where they have Wi-Fi. Maybe you got cable internet. Maybe you got, use a hotspot on a phone. There's a lot of different ways people can get internet. So I'd be curious to know what kind of access you have. Now, when I say access, that access I understand may not be at your house. So if you go to a grandma's house or you go to a friend's house or something like that, and that's where you're doing a lot of your work, that you can mention what you think they have there or no. Number 8, do you have access to using a smartphone or an iPad or tablet? When I said the reason I put access is a lot of you may have your own of one or the other. But some of you may not actually have one yourself, but you can easily get access to one. So if you had to shoot a little video, you could borrow a smartphone from a family member or something and use that to shoot your video and then import that and edit it for a project. Or maybe, you or your family has an iPad or something like that. Number 9, future career plans. Any goals for the future as far as career field, school, or interest? That could be anything, and I understand you're probably going to change your mind somewhere down the road. A lot of you are freshmen and sophomores. But if you're thinking about going into computer programming, you're thinking about being a nurse, you're thinking about being a electrician, you're thinking about working in the family business, maybe you run a farm or something, whatever it may be. And of course, there's a good chance you're going to change your mind. If you got some places you want to go study or go learn or go to trade school or apprenticeship or something, maybe the military, you can put anything like that down too. The last one, number 10, what interests you in the area of technology or computers? Now, a lot of students are into social media, they're into video games, maybe you do some web design, maybe you do some video editing, maybe you write some code of one form or another. Anything you do in the area of technology, maybe you're into photography or something, I'd be curious to know about. At minimum, you probably do things like social media and video games or YouTube or something like that. So after you finish all that, you don't have to literally hit save. Then you will be, now I'm a teacher, so mine doesn't look exactly the same as yours, but you'll be clicking, it says like turn in, and then they give you some options to attach a file or, attach it, and then they might say, I can't remember if it says turn in or submit or whatever, and you do that, and you have to maybe click a couple things, and then eventually it gets turned in. So for the first week, do your best. Hopefully it gets in there just fine. If it doesn't, we'll try to go over that and get everyone on speed with that. The last thing here, and you can check this out, Office 365 is Microsoft's Office. That includes Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and everything. You're going to need that for this class. Now, you can use it on the web, but it's better to download it to whatever you have. If you have a school computer, it may already be downloaded. I don't know. If it's not downloaded, I think they have something called Software Center on there, and you can go in there and maybe get it that way. Now, if you're at home, whether you put it on your school computer or not, you can put it on any computer or device you want for free. This would be like $150 if you had to go buy it. Anyone in your family can use it. The only catch is you have to use your Harper Creek login, every time you use it. So make sure whoever's using it, make sure it's logged in with your Harper Creek login. But there's a video here about how to go to it, how to find it, how to download it. It work on Windows, work on Mac. You can put it on phones and tablets and things like that. So you'll have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, we're going to use Word, Excel, PowerPoint. You may choose on your own to use Outlook for email, because we do use Outlook email. They'll need a little configuration if you do that. And we will also be, might be using at some point Teams, which is kind of like their online Zoom type thing. That's part of that. But either way, get Office 365 on at least one of the computers you're using. Okay, so that's a lot right here for the opening. Everything else will be on Google Classroom. You can email me. Now, this week we have no scheduled online thing, but do check the Google Classroom often. I'll put stuff on there. I may put up a poll up there asking you for about time slots that we can meet online next week and stuff. Because of the holiday Monday, I may post stuff, over the weekend, but I won't expect you to necessarily do anything until Tuesday. But if you want to get an early start, that's fine. Most of the time, I'll put up assignments for the week, and then I'll put due dates. I may put the due dates on the weekend. I may put some due dates sooner than that. I'll see what works best. Some people work better when there's due dates are spread out, and some people like to have flexibility to, get it done by a certain day for the whole week. So we'll be discussing those options too, and what may work best for this class. So either way, have a great week. We're going to have a great school year. We're going to make the best of this, and good luck with everything. Take care.